Hey guys, Dr. Justin Marcagiani here. We're going to do a quick video on why does your stomach pain get worse at nighttime? This is a common question I get from patients all the time. We're going to dive into the physiology and what the root cause of that is. Before we do, smash that like button. Really helps the search algorithm. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell so you get notifications of great content coming your way. All right, put your comments below. I want to know what your thoughts are on this topic and what you've experienced to be helpful. So out of the gate, why do you get stomach pain at night? So a lot of times there's poor digestion in the stomach area. So usually there's some kind of a gastroparesis or slowing of that food moving from the stomach into the small intestine. And so we need good acidity, one, to help break down that food, acidify that chyme, activate proteolytic enzymes, and then hopefully trigger a release into the small intestine. And when that food releases to the small intestine, we're going to get this bile output for breaking down fat. We'll get this pancreatic output for enzymes, whether it's lipase or protease. And then we'll typically get some bicarbonate produced by the pancreas to bring up that pH where it was more acidic to more alkaline. Now, first off, if we go back to the stomach, that nice low pH also helps tighten the esophageal sphincter, if you will. That's what the little circular band of muscle that closes the esophagus down, so what's in the stomach can't move up. So good acidity is very helpful for closing down that sphincter. If we have a lot of H. pylori or bacterial imbalances, that can throw off acidity. Acidity also is antimicrobial. So if you have good acidity in the gut, it's also going to activate proteolytic enzymes, help break down proteins. It's also going to help as a natural disinfectant. That's good. And then that good pH helps tighten up that esophageal sphincter and prevent food from moving their way upward. Now, if you have slow digestion and that food starts to sit in your stomach 2-3 hours or longer, one, you can eventually have gastritis, or that gut lining starts to thin out because now that acidic food is just sitting in there for a really long time versus moving into the small intestine, getting neutralized by that bicarbonate from the pancreas. And so that food sits in there. You can predispose the gut to gastritis, that just inflamed gut tissue. And then number two is if that esophageal sphincter opens up too, when you lay down, that food is going to be in there longer and it's going to be able to move up on you and start hitting the throat. So one of the first strategies is you can try to add in some hydrochloric acid, some enzymes, some bile support. We can get those things in the mix to help with better digestion. I'll put some links to products that I recommend down below, whether it's HCl Supreme, Enzyme Synergy, Liver Supreme, just liver, gallbladder, bile support, enzyme support, acid support. Now, sometimes if the gut's really raw, it may not be able to tolerate any acid. So if you have any history of ulcerations or lots of pain, you may want to just test it with a little bit of lemon juice or apple cider vinegar right before you eat with a tiny bit of water. See how you feel. If you can tolerate that, then you can move up to a higher dose and then eventually into hydrochloric acid support. That's painful. Just focus on enzymes and a little more bile support. That's probably better out of the gates. And then you can do natural prokinetics that help move that food from the stomach to the small intestine. So ginger, gentian, chamomile, these are all good natural prokinetics. Different bitters can be very helpful at moving that food from the stomach to the small intestine. Avoiding a bigger meal at night, even avoiding more acid at night, because if your stomach's more acid and it's in there longer and then you lay down, they can come up on you. So you can get a acid reflux wedge pillow. We'll put a link down below of just one that's 15-20 degrees that goes from your head all the way down to your hips. So you're not creating a big hump in your back when you sleep. So you have good support. That keeps it a little bit of incline and will help gravity moving it down. You can time up, make sure you're not eating a big meal within 3 hours before bed. Make it more soup, stew, liquid, smoothie. Make it really easier to digest, not a super rich big meal before bed. Get the enzymes in there. Get the enzyme synergy. Get the hydrochloric acid. Get some bile support in there. Make the meal maybe even a little bit smaller. Eat bigger before leading up to that meal, so you've already have had enough calories and nutrients throughout the day. That can be helpful. You can also put the back two legs of your bed on risers. That way your bed's just, instead of being flat, it's maybe a slight bit down. So you have the risers on the back part of the bed and then the front part normal. That can be a good option just to give you a little bit of gravity tilt. And again, those strategies, they're not really fixing the root cause, but they're palliative, and that can be very helpful in the short run while you're fixing the underlying physiology. So what's the root cause again? Root cause is going to be inadequate stomach acid or enzymes. Can also be some microbial imbalances in the stomach, SIBO, maybe some H. pylori. It can also just be a lot of stress, a lot of sympathetic nervous system stress, which is activating that sympathetic, which is shutting down digestion. So it could be just a lot of stress. Next, there could just be some damage to the tissue, just a lot of inflammation, and utilizing some bitters and some natural prokinetics to help that migrating motor complex, right? That's your ginger, that's your gentian, that's your bitters. There's a product that's been around in Germany, I think called Iberogast, which has some similar bitter products in there that you'd put in water before you drink. These are natural motility enhancing supports. Some other products that we'll use that have carnitine or 5-HTP. There's a lot of SSRI medications because serotonin can help kind of with the motility. We'll use 5-HTP or amino acids instead on the natural side. We try to really ginger. Of course, I mentioned that earlier. My ginger tea is wonderful at helping that motility. That tends to help while we fix then the acidity over time, if we can handle it, fixing the bacterial imbalances, fixing the stress, making sure we support the nutritional deficiencies, because of course, nutrients like zinc can play a big role in not being able to make enough hydrochloric acid as well. So really, really good info there. Greg writes in, hey, Greg, how you doing? When to take bitters? Typically like 10, 15 minutes before a meal is usually fine if you have it in a dropper. You can also sip on some ginger right after a meal as well, because that will help that migrating motor complex. That's that wave-like contraction of nerves to kind of help move things through. And ginger within itself is considered a bitter, and so that would also stimulate some digestive juices, some hydrochloric acid, which would then also perpetuate more enzyme production, because a lot of enzymes are driven through pH. And so if we have good, nice low pH, that may also help more enzymes, especially pepsinogen in the stomach is in its inactive form. So if we can activate it with a good acidity, that will increase the proteolytic enzymes. And so we can sip it right during a meal and or after a meal, as long as you're not like sipping ounces and ounces. If you just have like a 4-ounce ginger tea and you're sipping it, that's fine, right? Or if you have ginger in a tincture or bitters in a tincture, you can, do a full dropper's worth, and like 5 to 15 minutes before a meal, that can be fine. Even a minute before a meal could still be helpful. So great questions out of the gate. So guys, if you want to dive in, put some info down below if you want to reach out to get a little bit more info on what could be happening under the hood for you. A lot of times there's other infections playing a role. There's a lot of stress. Chronic stress shuts down digestion. And then if you're in this path of being on Prilosec, acid blockers, things that are shutting down your digestion, that's going to obviously be a compounding variable to why these symptoms start to get worse over time. So if you want to reach out to someone like myself or my staff, there'll be links down below where you can reach out and schedule worldwide if you want more support. And then just look a little bit deeper. Try to get to the root cause. Go into your medical doctor. They may give you a Band-Aid approach, but they just think, if I just keep doing the Band-Aid approach for long term, my symptoms will get worse because I'm not fixing the physiological root cause. I'm just doing a Band-Aid, and eventually that's going to cause more side effects because you're going to have more nutrient deficiencies if you're on an acid blocker, and that's going to cause more problems down the road because now you're going to not break down your protein, not ionize your minerals. That may cause mood issues, energy issues, libido issues down the road, more brain fog. And so you got to get ahead of the game and get to the root issue. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, put your comments down below and reach out if you need more support or more help getting to the root. All right, guys, have an awesome day.